Something else I'd like to discuss is papering around switches and sockets. Now, in a previous video, if this is obviously a switch, I talked about sockets, and for basic level DIYers, I wasn't happy with people putting wet paper and wet paste behind sockets when they're not quite sure of what they're doing. You could obviously, it goes without saying, get an electric shock. With professionals who have been used to painting and loosening sockets, working around electrics, you'll be more comfortable loosening off a power socket and a switch. I always recommend papering behind a switch because it's at eye level. You can see every little detail. I did mention about power sockets being low down, not seen very much behind furniture, so you can paper around them nice and neatly. Didn't need to loosen them off. I would recommend always loosening off a switch. The ideal way clearly is to get the power turned off to that room, to that area, so you've got no worries about any electrics, any live electrics, and you can put your paper in behind. Now, with a power socket low down, I would leave it on if you can. If you feel it's necessary to tuck it in behind, then what I do, even with switches, I loosen them off, but don't take these screws right out. If this power was off, I could probably just take that right off, even take the whole switch off, which sometimes electricians kindly do for me. If you loosen this off to the point where the screws are still in the hole on the plate, you can tuck the paper behind. Your switch or socket is in exactly the right position when you want to make your little indentations in the corner. If this was off and loose, you'd have to try and position it under your paper where it sits on the wall. This isn't moving from where it sits. I've got enough room to tuck the paper in, and we all know this, one of the worst jobs that we have, trying to put these screws back in a plate, it is you could spend 5-10 minutes just standing there fiddling about. So if you loosen it to the point they're just still gripping in the hole, makes your life easier. As I say, to do a perfect job, power sockets, light switches come off, but we all know it's a practical working environment. Sometimes you can't turn the power off, sometimes you don't want to loosen the sockets off, but as a rule of thumb, I'd always loosen switches, sometimes loosen sockets.